Well, no. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to ScaleUp Mastermind. This week, we're going to be talking with renowned author and business coach, Daryl Murrow, about how we can increase our profitability with an exit plan, an exit strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of plug real quick. The ScaleUp Mastermind series is brought to you by the Center for Business and Innovation. We have a number of different resources at the Center for Business and Innovation, including introductory business courses, business planning courses, coaches, resources to help you get connected with government contracting, and a number of others, including mentorship and financial and legal assistance. And we work with a number of different partners in the community to help make your business a success. This ScaleUp Mastermind is brought to you by the City of Olympia. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Daryl Murrow, who will again be talking with us about how an exit strategy now can help you increase your profitability today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, James. And it's okay if I share my screen here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, I will allow you to share your screen.
Thank you.
I've hit the button.
Awesome. All right. So good to be back and see a lot of familiar faces and names on here. It's pretty cool. And the first thing I want to say is, James had mentioned it, you like my new background, my new backdrop? I instantly materialized a brick wall. And it's like a tablecloth. I'm just hanging there. So it's not an actual green screen. The green screen and I have issues because of my spiky hair. It just doesn't seem to look real every time I've tried it. So, and you can all see the screen? Everything? Okay. So yeah, so how can having an exit strategy for the future increase your business, your profitability today? And exit strategy, we mention it in the ScaleUp program, but we just go in it a little bit, and I want to go take a deeper dive in why it's so important to consider your exit strategy now and the way you shape your business now, the activities that you do, how they can maximize the value when you do plan to exit. And James, could you please remind me, I want to be respectful of time, how long I have for this presentation?
You have until about 5:10.
Okay, perfect. Well, everybody knows me, you know I can talk a lot, and so that's not a problem. So the very first concept that I want to mention, that I want to bring up, is to remind you all that your business is an investment. When we're in the day-to-day kind of minutia of working on our business, and usually we're putting out fires or doing different things, we usually don't think of our business as an investment. We think of it as a way to earn a paycheck, to make a living, but your business is an investment similar to if you were going to put money into the stock market, purchase a real estate property, maybe be a landlord. Your business should be thought of in the same way. And typically it's not until we exit that we can realize the benefits that we can gain from it. And I'm just going to share my personal story with you. I had worked on building, the retail store I had that I'm sure you all know about, that I've had for almost 15 years. My goal was to grow it, but to not work in it all the time. And I think you all know the story of me and being angry Daryl, working all the time. And so that was my focus. It wasn't until later on that I had a chance to exit, and I never took the time to plan the exit strategy. But because I did the things that I'm going to talk about here, I was able to maximize my investment, and I was able to sell the business when a recession was going on. And I was told by the broker that I listed the business with that, well, expect it to take a year to sell it. And I didn't want to wait a year, but that's what he said. He said, it's very doubtful you will receive cash for this, so be willing to accept payments. And I didn't want to accept payments. I didn't like that idea. And so he said, I will be letting you know when offers come in, but it's probably going to take a while. Well, 3 weeks later, he came rushing into the store and says, Daryl, we got an offer, and it's all cash. And I closed on it a month later. And all of a sudden, I found myself, what am I going to do now? I didn't even have that part planned. So when we think of our business as an investment, it's the same as if you have a house and you work on making repairs and you keep making improvements, because one day when you sell it, you want to get the most out of it, right? And where do we put the time in and what we want to do? So first of all, let's clarify what an exit strategy is. They come in all different kinds of shapes and forms. So the one that most people seem to, resonate with is selling your company. And that's selling it to a buyer. You could be selling it to employees, but typically it's finding a buyer and selling it. And I think it was last week, I was having a conversation with a husband and wife that they have a very profitable business. And I had asked them if they had an exit strategy. And what they told me really, it kind of surprised me. They said, well, we don't own the building, so I don't think we have a sellable business. And I said, oh, no, that's not the case at all. You do not have to own the business in order to sell a business. And as a matter of fact, I've seen businesses sell that I didn't even think should be sellable for a number of reasons, but they still sold. So one of the things if you believe that you have a business that, well, my kind of business isn't sellable, I can tell you people buy anything. And most businesses that are sold in our area, at least this is Thurston County, and I'm sure it's true for other counties as well, often comes from people moving into the community. They want to purchase a business rather than look for a job. And so they may move, they may have retired and then want to start their own business, but they don't want to start it from scratch. There's a number of reasons. So selling your company, if you knew you were going to sell your company in 2 years or 5 years, would you do things differently now? Would you be working on trying to strengthen the things to maximize your value? It only makes sense that we should. But again, we usually do not think of that. We don't think of the investment and selling our business to recoup that investment. So typical ways, selling your company, merging it with another company. And that's a strategy where you're still selling your business, or instead of selling it outright, you're looking to see if you can partner with someone, to find someone who maybe complements yours, and approaching them and saying, what if we join forces together? How powerful could this be? And you see it happen all the time. A lot of small business owners, they leave that out as a potential opportunity, but it is there. The employee ownership plan, I know I have a friend who he worked for an engineering company, and one day he and 3 other employees, there was 4 of them, they decided they wanted to leave the company and start their own engineering firm. Well, the owner, because he realized the value that they brought, made them an offer, said, what if I bring you in as ownership partners, and every year you become invested more and more until you 4 are the owners, and then I will phase out. And the company was very profitable. My friend retired at the age of 49, and he's set now. And that was from making that decision for the ownership. So if you have a company, depends on where you're at, in the cycle of your business, that's a potential opportunity. And then franchising. Franchising is a way that you could, if you wanted to develop your company into a franchise, you're actually selling your business concept to somebody else. And the last one, which I've seen people, you see these kind of stories all the time. I don't know anyone personally in my space that's done this, but they take it public. They decide to find investors. I have met people that have issued shares, and they wanted to raise capital, and they weren't worried about their equity stake in it. And so they did an offering. So there's lots of different ways, and it all depends on you, your lifestyle, your goals, and what you eventually want out of your business. If you can remember what I always say in ScaleUp is your business is a vehicle to give you a lifestyle. It's not designed to consume your lifestyle, which happens to so many people, but it's just another investment vehicle. And so if I can at least get that point across, I think that's really important. So when you start looking at these different options, if you were to sell your company, what would be something that, so let me ask this. I'd love to just get a little bit of Q&A for just a second before I move to the next slide. Has any of you thought of selling your company, but has fear or apprehension about selling it at some time in the future? Does that anyone fit into that category here?
Why would I sell my business?
Why would you sell your business?
What would I do then?
Well, it depends on your own personal goals and objectives. Some people, I've had people say, I'm never going to sell my business. I'm going to die in it. That's what I want to do. But are you being serious that you know?
I guess I'm trying to say I'm not ready to sell because I have nothing to do other than work on my business and respond to fires when they come.
Gotcha. And Rose. Hi, Rose.
Hi there. I'm driving. So we have a business that's 18 years old, and we are planning our exit strategy. We're thinking probably in about 3 years, and I couldn't agree with you more about that. It's going to be the vehicle to our lifestyle once we retire. And I'm part of a national franchise, and we are already talking about cleaning the books up. We're investing in new technology so that when we are ready to sell, that it'll look like a good investment for whoever comes in.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. And I wish you tremendous success in moving forward and being able to accomplish that objective, Rose. That's awesome. Anyone else? So selling a business may seem like a daunting task. And for many of you, again, you may not be ready to sell, just like Noel. It's like, well, I don't know what I would do. Why would I want to sell now? But I want to plant the seed for you that your daily activities, the things that you do in the present, affect what happens to you in the future. And if you can always remember that, again, you're living in a house and you need some repairs. Which ones do you focus on first? Well, remodeling the kitchen will help me get the best return on investment. It's the same type of thing. There's no shortage of places we can spend money and focus on. But when you do have an exit strategy in mind, would you agree that you may conduct yourself and carry yourself a little bit different because you have a new set of objectives that you're focusing on? Yeah, we're going to be different. It's the same thing. I always like to use the vacation mindset. When you're ready to go on vacation, it's amazing what stuff we can get done and that we don't care about. We just want to, get to the airport and get on the plane and fly and go to the beach or whatever it is. right? Our mindsets differently, but it's the same thing with when we are planning an exit. So remember, we're focusing on maximizing your investment, the things that you do. So let's see, I don't know, oh, I don't know that it'll still have value. I was just looking at a comment there. And yeah, you know, there's no guarantees in anything, but if we continue to do the stuff, work on our strategic plan, continue to implement the things, a lot of the things that we talk about in Scale Up, and you utilize mentors and coaches and so forth, then you can continue to grow and create that value. And I'll talk a little bit about what people look for when you're selling a business here in just a second. So maximizing value for this presentation, just for the length of time, I shortened it to a couple key points that I'm going to elaborate on here. One, you know, and I don't know if that's what you were saying, Vicky, with the value here, but consistent and trending cash flow, which is, you know, profitability, is one of the things that makes a business attractive, right? Is chaining a type of exit strategy? Well, if so, thank you for your question. So are you, just to clarify, are you saying if you were to open multiple locations and create a chain? Is that what you were referring to, Sophie? Is that Sophie? Good to see you. It's good to see all of you. It's been a long time for there. Well, it can be part of your exit strategy. There you are. And I have to say, my mother lives down in the boardwalk building there, Sophie, and she loves to go and get your gelato.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I just thought I'd share that with you. So the exit strategy, your growth strategy may be wanting to create multiple locations and developing a chain, but the exit strategy is still the same. Do you want to sell it? Do you want to, you know, what is it that you want to do when you're ready to move on? So one thing I learned, I love reading books from successful people or business owners. And one time, this was many years ago, in the Goodwill of all places, for a quarter, I found a book, and it was written by Les Schwab. I didn't know he wrote a book, and I didn't know anything about Les Schwab except as a tire company, but I was intrigued, so I bought it and I read the book. And you know, it could have had maybe a little more editing and all that, but I'm not bashing it. But what I learned from his strategy was he wanted to retain people. And as he grew, so what he did was, if somebody, he put a program in place that if somebody wanted to stay in the company, they had goals that they liked what they were doing. And I don't remember what the exact process was, but what he would do is make them a store manager, and then they had an ownership, and over a period of time, they would actually own that branch of the chain. So instead of them all being company owned, he has individual owners. So it's kind of like a cross between a franchise and corporate owned stores. But what he did was he was able to retain employees. And I had to take my car, and I had a flat tire the other day, and I got it pumped up enough, and I drove it to the closest place was Les Schwab. And I heard the guy behind the counter talking with someone saying, yeah, I've been here 26 years running this store. And so that was just proof of how that works. So, and if you want to sell a business at the top, what any broker, anyone that values your business, they're going to look at the last 3 years to see how the business is performing and what the trend is. Now, I know right now, with COVID, coming out of COVID years, many of your businesses have been totally disrupted, but don't let that deter you as you're moving forward. We want to keep going forward. What I've seen is if you are able to get back into business, then they will look at that year and average it. But we want to make sure for the last 10 years, you haven't been going downward, okay? Turnkey operations. What's a turnkey operation? Anybody, you can chat it or say it. creating a turnkey operation. That's just a term I wanted to throw out that you'll hear a lot. Does anyone know what turnkey is? I know some of you are looking it up on Google right now, so you can type it in.
It's just where they can just come in and pick up and make a living.
Yeah, they can come in and they buy the business and they can come in and turn the key and open it up and the business is functioning, right? That's very, very attractive to a new business owner. Can you imagine saying, hey, come buy my business. It's great. We have all these customers. I work 85 hours a week, but it's yours for the right price. People aren't gonna, there may be somebody that likes that, but most people are not. So we want to make it a turnkey operation and then have a team and a culture that supports the business and that people love to work there. Can you imagine if someone's stepping in and, oh, well, we don't get along, we don't even talk to each other, we don't like each other. Nobody's going to want that. So let's dive in here a little bit and look at this from a strategy perspective. So consistent and trending cash flow, there's different strategies that we can do to expand the capacity of the business in order to continue to increase the cash flow and the sales of your company. Now, I put this here because anytime if you Google anything with expand capacity, the very first thing they say is, well, run extra shifts around the clock, work overtime. And I don't know about you, that's a way if you are in a production facility and you have orders coming and you need to meet it, and it's almost like, I don't want to say a crisis situation, but you don't have anything else in place. That could be something that you do. But for most of us, that's not where we want to go. It would be easier for us to reduce some of the bottlenecks and the issues in our business and increase efficiency so we can get more done in less time. So this is a big one that I've talked about. If you've been in ScaleUp a long time, you heard me talking about this type of stuff here quite often. There's opportunities you can outsource some of your work. Some people, they often think of outsourcing, but in certain areas, almost anything can be outsourced. Sales, I have somebody that makes sales for me, and I don't do it. Most of the time, I don't do it. Someone else does that. There's subcontracting in all kinds of areas. Improving, part of increasing efficiency, improving your space, your layout, improving your technology that Rose had mentioned. Those are all ways that you can work to develop and make your business more of a turnkey operation. Raising prices. I always put that one in. For those of you that you remember in the pricing modules, I always, small business owners typically are extremely nervous and afraid to raise prices, but it's the fastest way to increase profitability. If you know you want to sell and you're looking at your cash flow and your profitability, when's the last time that you've raised prices? So I just wanted to put that out there. These are typically strategies that people can use to increase their capacity. Now, if we take a look at turnkey operations, that's our systems and our policies. And one of the first things we want to focus on is removing yourself from doing all the work. Remember, we talk about working on your business versus in your business. When we work on our business, then if we do the right things, we can put systems in place so we don't always have to be working in our business. And that's a big one. It's a big one. It's worth mentioning over and over again. And the way we can remove ourselves and do that is, one, to make sure we have operational procedures in place and an effective way that we can manage it. Those two are absolutely key if you want to remove yourself from the business, and what Sophie mentioned, if you want to open another location. I made that mistake twice, Sophie. I had a business I thought was functioning great. I opened another location, and because I didn't have an effective management system in place, within a year, I shut it down and moved it back in. And then I did that again. And it finally, I got it in my head that it was me that was holding the business together, and it wasn't the systems that were holding together. It wasn't a turnkey operation. And I see people make that mistake a lot. I'm all for expansion and growth and having another location. We just have to make sure that we're actually ready from a system standpoint in order to do that. Okay. And then the third one was the culture, retaining our best talent and making our company an irresistible place to work. I put that in there because I thought that would sound pretty appealing. But the first piece I have there that we often overlook as business owners is given our employees a reason to work there, not just to get a paycheck, but to know who we really are, where we're going, how we're going to get there, and why. Okay, the purpose. The purpose, when we share our purpose and our employees understand really clearly who we aspire to be as a company, where we plan to go, what we're working on, then what we're doing is we're bringing them in to share our vision with us. If we do not do that, then what we're doing is we're just saying, come to work. I don't know if any of you have experienced this before, but I've seen cultures where the employees never see the owner. I'm working with one right now. The people, they run crews that are out in the field, and the owner never goes out there, never acknowledges them, has never shared the vision. Even the leads on the job have no idea what the next job is or what the vision is or what the goals are. The communication is completely cut off. And so then you hear stories like, oh, well, he probably just wants us to work here so he can live in that big mansion and get a new boat or something. It's that kind of mentality, and we don't want to have that kind of mentality. We can be transparent with our employees with where we want to go. Doesn't mean you have to share all your sales information. A lot of businesses do, but it doesn't mean you have to do that. But we want to make sure, first of all, you have to be clear where you are and make sure they are on board with you. And recommitting to the core values and pointing those out as often as you can, I think, is absolutely essential, because the vision, that's where you want to go. Your mission is how you plan to get there. Your core values are who you are as a company, what's right or wrong, what's important to you, etc. And the purpose is why are you doing this whole thing in the first place. Yay, Victoria, you just sent out a first employee survey. Is that to survey you personally as a leader? Did you do the leadership survey? Excellent, excellent. And when we can do this, intentionally setting up an environment of trust. These are things right here that for me, for years in business, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know how to do that. How do you create an environment that inspires trust versus an environment where people are, they just check out. They don't care. We have to intentionally create that. An environment where results matter and accountability is something that everybody agrees to. And I know right now is a very, very challenging time with employees because many businesses can't attract enough. I know some of you probably on this line are, you might even be only running a 4-day opening because you don't have enough employees to be back to what it was before COVID. But these strategies here still apply. They still apply. Just another story. There's a person that I know hired a manager raise someone up from within the company to a manager position, and now they're all upset with them because of the results or the lack of results that they're getting. And so my first question was, well, how did you train this person? Well, I didn't really provide any training. Do you have a management process in place? Well, no, not really. I mean, it's just some common red flags that they were just looking at the outcome and getting results they weren't happy about, but they didn't put some of these key pieces in place. And then the recruitment and hiring. Do you just take the first body that comes, or do you have a way that you are really selective on who you bring in and why and how they would fit into your own ecosystem, your own culture? A culture fit when bringing someone in is just as important as a skill fit, in my opinion. It does no good to have an employee that is really skilled at something, but then does everything else behind the scenes to the way it comes out is they're just a problem child. I don't know if you've experienced that. I have before. And then you don't want to fire them because they're good at what they do, but they're a problem child. They're not a match for the culture. So making sure that you have a process for making sure it's a culture fit is extremely important. So these items right here, your culture, your turnkey, your systems that you have, and being able to expand your capacity are things that are very important, and things that I have been working with James behind the scenes to actually put into a new revised business tune-up 2.0. I just wanted to share this with you because it's relevant, and this is going to be launching soon. And if what you're hearing here is something that resonates with you, I highly encourage you to check this out. And I just took James, I thought his flyer was so good. I just took this flyer to hit on some of these key points. Expanding the capacity that we did. This is what we're going to focus on in here. What can you do to expand your capacity, but also free yourself from the day-to-day? And I know I've shared a lot of materials in here, but we have some new updated things that I think you're really going to like, that I've been testing with different companies, doing beta test on it before that I wanted to unveil it. So I'm pretty excited about it. So the items that I talked about earlier, we're going to be addressing these right here. So if this is something that you would like to be a part of or would like more information about, you can contact James right down here, James Davis. He's the person that does enrolling on here. And it's a 4-week class. So it's going to follow tune-up, or it's going to follow scale-up with a video series that you watch. You come to class. We wanted to condense it, and really what I did was I did some trimming to get you the most comprehensive things for you to work on that can get you the most value out of it. And remember, the purpose is to build value into your business so you can exit it in a positive way. And so this is when the first classes are. And James, I don't know if there's something you would like to add about this.
No, I think that this business tune-up concept is really diving in deeper into those into that realm of building out what makes you profitable, building out the operation systems, helping create a culture that retains talent. I know that's a big one right now.
Yeah.
And then also really just diving into it and making sure it happens. But I'd love to open it up real quick. So on this, just real quick note on this: if you're in the city of Olympia or Lacey, the bit that is covered, and if you are a scale-up business training graduate, you get the training you get a half price to 50% off of your training on this. So if you're interested, The normal price is 533, and this one would be thereabouts, I think about 252. But actually, I really wanted to kind of dive into the questions that people wanted on the chat here, just about this profitability and talking more about the concept of having that increased profitability. And I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions.
I have one. This is Rose again.
Hi, Rose.
So you're talking about increase, like the value of your business for selling it. Is that kind of, or you mean profitability? Well, profitability goes along with, I guess, the value of your business.
Yeah.
My question is, so what we have been told by our franchise is that we need to show owner benefit. So we have increased our salaries so that when we go to sell our business, the potential buyer, you know, I think that goes back to Turnkey, will see that, oh, okay, so they're drawing this much, you know, so it, you know, could potentially, you know, look more attractive. Is that something you suggest doing?
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. So one of the worst things you can do if you are wanting to exit in a few years and maximize the value, and I know this personally from a friend of mine that did this, he was from the mindset that, well, I'm not going to report everything. He would take $1,000 and put in his pocket every month, and he didn't report it. Okay, now I'm not here to judge anyone or say anything. I always had the philosophy that I want to report everything, and people would tell me, you know, Daryl, you're stupid. You're going to pay taxes on it. I said, absolutely I am, but I'm going to show the value of my business. I don't want to, you know, not pay that. So that's one thing. But then there are expenses that you may occur in your business. And when you're valuing the business, so there may be expenses that you pay that lower your profitability, right? The more expenses you have, the less profit you're making. However, if they're non-operational expenses, when you're valuing the business, we call those add backs. We put those in. So for example, if you hire a consultant to help you with something, if you go on a trip to a yearly conference, those are things that a new owner does not necessarily have to do. So if they do not have operations, if they're not affecting the operations, they can add those back. And the way I reflected it was on my profit and loss statement. I had, you know, you have your sales, your cost of goods, your expenses, and then I had non-operational expenses. I actually started doing that with the advice of my coach, and I didn't really understand why until it was time to sell the business, because I had all of those expenses itemized that I could add back in, which shows increased profitability. And so the same token, if you want to make it more attractive, if you're improving your salary, maybe you took a minimal salary just because you wanted to keep the business as profitable as possible, that could be a strategy, because the owner, when they come in, they want to know what they're getting, and they will think of it as buying an investment. They want an investment that they know is going to make them money, is going to run effectively. They know they're going to want to put their own spin on it eventually, but they want something that is working when they come in. So yeah, so you may receive guidance like that from your franchise people, and since that's a franchise and they're tied with you, I would make the assumption that their advice would be valid, because they certainly know your business and your industry far better than I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, one of the reasons when I sold my business that the person who purchased it, one of the reasons that he said that, you know, I really liked your business. Well, one, he wanted to find a music store, a CD store. So that filtered out, you know, lots of others. but he wasn't necessarily looking at location. He would have picked one in Seattle, but the reason he picked mine is when he was able to come check it out, I had on a shelf, I had binders of all the operations, the checklist, everything. I said, this shows you how to do everything that you want to do. And I've got every process documented in here. And he was so impressed with that. That was a turning point. And here's something else that I want to mention. When you have a business and you do not have processes in place and it's you're running everything yourself, well, then when you go to sell your business, it's based on the cash flow, but they also factor in assets that you have. So if you have inventory, tools, parts, but that's all they're really buying is the assets. Okay. When you have a turnkey operation, the value can be increased because the likelihood of them coming in and being successful dramatically increases. And so there's a perceived value in there, and you can talk to any business broker and they will tell you that. So by making it a turnkey operation, it makes it more attractive for the sale, but it also allows you to increase the sale value. So I hope that makes sense.
Do we have any other questions? Thank you, Daryl.
Ask me anything.
I can just see, I mean, how creating those operational structures right now and making it more efficient to do business and allowing you to be able to focus on your business rather than in your business would absolutely increase your ability to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason when we said, how do you realize it now in the future when you're there, it's like anything else we do. The steps you take now will produce the results you get later. And they may be really favorable results, or they could be, unfavorable results. But what we're doing right now is what's going to lead us forward. So Susie, you're still impacted by yoga. Sorry to hear that. Do you do any online? Can people even come in and do in-person yoga right now?
Yes, they can. We have in-person and Zoom classes available. So we pivoted very early on to provide both. But people are so sick of Zoom. And so we're seeing, and with summer, we always take a hit, but this year, of course, we're taking more of a hit than normal. And now with the Delta variant, we're starting to see people getting nervous that were coming into the studio. Now they're starting to wonder if they should be coming into the studio. So this thing just keeps going on for us. And so when I got your email about positioning the business to sell, yes.
Yeah, and in your example, right, your business is impacted, and some people, they find they actually have more free time that they didn't have before because they're not doing as many things as they used to do. And so what a great way to invest in improving some of these operations or setting some things up. It sometimes it seems counterintuitive to work on something that's going to benefit us in the future, but it's like saving money. Many people, they don't want to save money, or they wait until after all the bills are paid, and then oh well, I'll put something in savings after the bills are paid. But the bills, there'll always be expenses, and we will just keep going month after month without saving anything. So we pay ourselves first, we invest in ourselves first, we invest in these things that can make an impact.
Yeah, that makes sense, because my business partner and I, we stopped taking, we stopped paying ourselves just to see how long this thing is going to impact us. And so, but yeah, in terms of getting the books ready for a possible sale in the future, we should rethink that.
Yeah. Really good to see you too.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, it's good to see all of you. It's just so nice to see familiar faces. It seems like it's been such a long time. I'm going to stop sharing there in case there's any other questions that someone might have about any of this that we talked about.
I'm still trying to get my business going. Yeah, I'd like to meet with James some point in time.
And
Yeah,
I see a hand up, Victoria.
So it's interesting as I started a business later in life. This is basically my third year. And in the middle of COVID, and then I have 5 more years to really I have longer if I want, but to be 65. And so the first 3 years I've been putting all the money back in the business. And then we've been doing things on the house because it's an in the office, at home business. So I have been upgrading and making it presentable and livable and putting money into the home office area. So can that money that we're spending towards the business, can I rent this space out if someone was interested in having as part of a sale? I guess what I'm trying to ask is all the money that we're putting into the business now, yes, it's helping the home, but it's also making the business efficient and running well. How do I account for that?
Yeah, so that, with it tied to, so it's tied to your house, right? So, I mean, in the future, anything's possible. Somebody could buy something and want to keep operations there. My instinct would tell me they wouldn't.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're improving the value of your house. So you're increasing the equity in your house. So it's not a lost investment, assuming it could be, if the office wasn't in there, I'm sure it could be repurposed as living room or family room or something like that.
Yeah, it's just a daylight basement. I might even have another business in here, who knows?
Right.
But I guess the money that we're spending, how do we account for that as part of profitability or putting it back into the business? So I guess what I'm looking at this is really good. I'm glad I came tonight because I've been putting all the money back into the business, and I believe the business model is a good business model. It's just going to take some time to catch on here. And I've also been going out and looking for other places to have businesses. So it looks like I've got these 3 years, and now I need to start looking at not spending any money to make the business look profitable. So in the next 3 years, I would be able to sell it because it would actually have profitability. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, depending on, I would recommend that's a conversation with an accountant, right? Because you're putting expenses in there. You are using it for the business. Typically, I know we can write off percentages of, our house, electricity, things like that you can use as a deduction. Doing it in a home office for repairs or upgrades where you're doing the structure like that, I'm not skilled enough in those areas to know. I would refer to someone, but it could be that as you're putting it back into the business so it functions for you, but is it more aesthetically pleasing or is it helping you with operations in any way?
Operations and warmth.
Okay.
A daylight basement's kind of cold.
Right. Yeah. So to realize that, but just think for when in the future, if
I know
you get this going and you're selling, and again, I don't want to rule it out 100%, but I think it'd be really challenging to if I was to buy your business and the office was located there. I mean, I don't know. I'd look at it and see, but I'd probably want to move it someplace else. That's just most likely.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking that I just need to start designating that money. I mean, I'm buying a lot of inventory and doing some other things. I mean, it's not just the only part, but
Right.
I think for profitability, instead of deductions, I need to look at that instead and start changing the energy and making it more company focused,
Yeah.
because eventually I want out.
You probably though did increase a lot of value in your home.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's you're probably increasing the value. You put a heat source in where the basement didn't have it. Your equity in your house probably has risen, because of that. So it's not that you would lose it. It just might not be from a valuing your business. It may not be providing that much extra value if you were to sell it.
I'm not really worried about losing the money. I want to make it look appealing to a buyer. I think that's where my focus really is that some of the strategies I've been using to make it comfortable for me are not necessarily somebody who would want to purchase my business would look at.
That's
so
right.
I want to make it look profitable.
Yeah. So remember the things that we mentioned right? You want to make sure your business is profitable, that you have you have a track record, that you're generating this business, that you do have systems in place. So that way, you're not the one going out there and flagging all the time and all that. Someone could step in and run it, and you have your processes documented, all the different things that you do. And those are the key things that they're going to want to look at.
Yeah, I'm taking my first vacation and leaving my employees to run it.
Oh, well, congratulations on taking your vacation. I wish you wish you lots of fun with that. Yes, Sophie.
I don't know if I missed this, but what is your business? What is her business?
Go ahead, Victoria.
I have a traffic control business.
Cool.
And which island are you on?
I'm in the San Juan County, and I'm in Friday Harbor, but we also have work on Lopez and Orcas.
You're in Friday Harbor?
Yeah.
I so want to go there. I haven't been there for years and years, and I want to visit there. Well, that's cool. I could have someone to look up there.
Yeah.
Victoria.
There's probably so many systems that you know very well that you could sell to someone that knows nothing about this.
Right.
And they could have an office somewhere where they do it. So the value is those systems. And you could still value them pretty high, I would think, especially if you do it in multiple places and it's a pretty specialized thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any change that you make to your space, the operational flow of it that makes it more efficient for other people, they'll be able to adapt that in another space. And the fact that you live in Friday Harbor, Airbnb, day in, day out, if you were open to it, now it's heated and you can set it up. It's just it's like a bifurcation of the business opportunities. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows, but I want to make it, I'm trying to do a really good job, and you have helped me so much, and I'm really growing. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, I'm just excited you're getting a vacation, and I really hope you enjoy it. Yeah. That's the true test. I remember when I got to the point where I could take a 2-week vacation, I didn't call back. Nobody called me. I was gone for 2 weeks, and I came back. I was a little nervous, but they had record sales during that week. And things were I was like, I arrived finally. That was how I felt.
And we have 2 jobs that are going to be over starting next Monday. That are going to be over a month long. And I'm going to Montana, and the cabin has no services. I'm in blackout area. I am nervous, but.
That's exciting. Maybe not exciting, but yeah, that's exciting for you that you're getting away. I'm really happy for you.
Well, yeah, very exciting. I'm excited for you, Victoria. Is there anybody here? I know that we've got a few people on the line here. Is there anyone else that would like to talk about their situation or has any questions for Daryl while we have him on the line?
Sophie, you just did. You reminded me of the show Bewitched. You just kind of moved your nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. That's a good question. I guess. Okay, so I am tuning in not because I want to sell necessarily ever, but just to have an exit strategy in general that isn't like completely exited, but maybe a hybrid where, you know, I am not in charge of a lot. I just am paid to be in charge of maybe some small portion. I don't know, carving out a way where
Yeah.
we still own all of the things, not franchising, most likely chaining. And then being able to see what like an exit strategy from what we're doing now would be, not completely exited. So that's why I was listening to see what kind of things to have in place. I already know all of those answers because I took your class so many times. So it's great to hear the same things again, have all my systems, all the things. It's interesting though, I didn't know that you tried to open another spot twice.
Yeah,
And went back.
twice.
That's the biggest fear. And we are working on another space mainly because we have to have a larger production space. We've maxed out the capacity that we can do in this place. So we have to grow in some way to be able to maintain what we're doing even and to make it efficient. So efficiency, right now we're inefficient. We've like passed the point of being efficient.
Yeah.
So we basically were like, okay, well, we're going to expand technically, but making sure to do that in the right way so that there is a plan. So we don't do what you did.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, comes down to a strong management structure is what it sounds like.
It does. So if you can imagine, can you go, you know, how long can you go away from your business with it to run effectively before you need to come back in and step in? Can you go away for several weeks without calling anyone?
Well, I
couple
would
days?
say, yes, I could, because all of the jobs that I do right now are completely, I can be replaced really easily, but because of COVID and hiring, it's a little bit harder to find enough people to fill the scooping position. So I end up scooping. So I'm doing like the most basic job that's
Right.
really hire for. So if once I'm able to hire enough people that want to work enough hours, then yes, I can step away I probably could step away for 2 weeks and that would be fine. I do have a manager in place.
Okay.
But that's just for this place.
Right. So basically you'd be replicating the manager at this place somewhere else and making sure that whatever processes they follow, you know, whatever checklist they use, whatever system you have, that it would be duplicated there.
Right. And what I foresee at this point, because I think we're very timid and scared about expanding just because it's kind of stressful and scary, is that I would probably then just remove myself from the one and put myself into the other until it's strong enough to be on its own again with a manager, with all the things. Is that smart?
That's exactly what I did.
Okay. And
I went to the new locations and worked them and had someone work the original one.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have it, and eventually I got to that point where I could leave and didn't even have to be there, and I was hardly ever there, and it could run. But it took me to get the systems especially for the management structure. That was really key.
Okay.
Yeah. So you may be closer than you think. There may be just some things that you need to put in or implement, but and the timing, you know, with COVID may or may not be right, but you're getting there and you're focusing on it. And I can totally see you having another spot. So, you know, you've built the reputation, you've done really good things. So don't let that scare you. It's just approaching it cautious and making sure your plan is, you know, you've thought it out enough times before jumping in.
Do you think that what is like what is a really standard amount of coaching that you should have, like that I should have at this time, like with a mentor, like sorry, I'm in a really loud environment, as you know. What would you say is kind of like a good baseline to see a coach? Like once a week or?
Yeah, well, you know, that depends. I mean, it really depends on your situation, but really if you think about it, if you're going to go into a relationship with a coach or seeing a mentor, you want to make sure you have clear objectives for what you want to get out of it. So for example, I want to work with you to make sure that I know how to manage this from a distance and have the pieces in place. The frequency depends on how much you can get done and to implement. So I've worked with people where I've met them once a month, once a week. I had someone, they wanted to fast track something really bad, and they actually paid me to help them build it, which kind of borders on consulting too. So there's lots of different ways, and there's lots of great resources available for you, but you just have to be clear what it is that you want to accomplish to make sure you pick the right mentor to work with.
Right. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And you've been doing the right thing by coming to all these classes and coming to like this. I mean, this is how we stay connected and keep it in our minds. And that's one of the things I love about this network that James has really been working hard to set up, to have these types of things, because peer-to-peer learning, I think, is one of the greatest ways to connect. And as business owners, it's often lonely because we don't have anyone to talk about these kind of things. We're in our own little bubble. So
I totally agree. I know. I really wanted to do this, even though I'm obviously at work. It's super loud. I gotta do one. I haven't done one in forever. But I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Look at that.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys all for coming today. And thank you, Daryl, for the very informative talk. It's always inspiring hearing you talk about not only your history, but some of the things that you're able to guide people with here too, just from the amount of mentorship that you've been able to provide over the years. So just one last real quick plug. If you are interested in pursuing the Business Tune-Up 2.0 class, taking a deep dive into systems, the exit strategy, creating the culture, that is coming up here. It's August 27th. It'll be 4 consecutive Fridays. It is a hybrid learning environment too, so you'll have access to all of those materials for the time that you need. Actually, for as long as you need. If you enrolled in that class, you have access to those materials. And if you are in the city of Olympia or Lacey, those cities are paying for it for you. If you are outside of those city limits, as a ScaleUp business training alumni, you get the training for half off. So if you have any questions about enrolling in that program, just let me know. You can reach out to me again at jdavis@thurstonedc.com. That will wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys all for showing up to this month's edition of ScaleUp Mastermind, and we will see you next month.
I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for coming. Seriously, thank you. It's so good to see familiar faces again.
You too, Daryl.
All right. Take care.
Have a wonderful night, you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.